Hey, what's up guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the HAVIT Lammergeier HV-KB346L. I can't say that. Anyway, it is a non-mechanical gaming keyboard that also has RGB backlighting, which I'll get into in just a second, and can be programmed in quite different ways. So first of all, the price. Now this keyboard is actually quite expensive. For a non-mechanical keyboard, it's £61. Weirdly enough, in the US, it is $60. Links will be in the description below in case you're interested. Now in terms of its layout, it is a US layout keyboard. Despite being in the UK and reviewing this at the £61 price tag, it's a bit weird that you find a US layout keyboard. I accept it if it was £10, £30 keyboard, but unfortunately £61, it's not really acceptable to have a US layout keyboard. But you are notified that in the Amazon description and the title, so do bear that in mind. Now first of all, a little overview of the keyboard. It's got a braided cable, which is great. It's non-removable. It hasn't got any extra slots that you can put in, like a USB or anything like that. On the underside of it, if I can get to it, it's got little rubber bits throughout the keyboard, and it's got a little keyboard height adjustment. Now the height adjustment kind of annoys me because I would have liked a little bit more adjustment, if that makes sense, because some keyboards actually offer double adjustment. And on top of that, this thing feels just very flimsy, like you'd find in a £10 keyboard. So I'd wish that HAVIT had done a bit better job with these. In terms of keyboard flex, it's got a little bit of keyboard flex, unfortunately, and that's due to its plastic construction that it's got. Now, in terms of the plastic construction, it does go through the keyboard, but also has a metal finish at the front, which actually does look very, very cool, especially when it's reflected on light. So it does really give a nice, elegant, cool-looking keyboard feel and look to it when you just look at it. In terms of design, I quite like the fact that this part over here is a little bit extended over the rest. Unfortunately, it's not removable or adjustable, which I would have liked it to be. But the reason I like it is that it's a little bit extra over the rest because you can rest your actual wrist on there when you're playing games. It would have been better if it was a little bit further out because I've got a little larger than medium-sized hands, and I would have liked the fact that if I could rest my wrist a little bit more comfortable because my palm kind of sits on my table rather than this wrist rest. But either way, I like the design what they've done with the design over here, and on top of that I do like the fact that it's got a little logo that can be illuminated or switched off to your heart's content. On the right hand side, you've got M1, M2, which is the profile switching button, light, which indicates what profile you're on. As you can see, you can change profiles, and then you've got the num lock, caps lock, and win lock illuminations right there. On the right hand side, you've got that M1, M2 button, which is the two profile buttons, and then you've got G1 to G4, and then you've got L1 to L9. What I don't understand here is why we've gone L1 to L5 and then L6 to L9. It's almost like a Star Wars type thing when you go backwards and forwards with episode 1s to 3 and 3 to 6. So I don't know what the logic was behind this, but anyway, that is the way they're numbered. Do as you will when it comes to actually using it. Finally, at the top over here, you've got different functionalities. First of all, you've got the repeat rate, which I'll show you in just a second via a Word document. Essentially, when you press down a button, it dictates the amount of times it comes up. You'll see what I mean when I go on the PC. Then you've got its polling rate, which I've got at 1000, and then you've got color 1 to 4. Now the color 1 to 4 is quite cool because you can change the individual sections. So you've got 4 different sections, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I press FN and 1, you'll be able to see color 1 switching. And you can go between colors, and you can select these colors via the software, which I'll show you via the software in just a minute. What's cool about it is the fact that you can adjust these 4 independently via a hardware button rather than going via the software. Of course, you'd have to customize the color that you'd want via the software first, but that's very easy to do, and I'll show you that in a second. Before getting into the software, I just want to go into the noise and the sound it makes. I found it to be a really silent keyboard, but what I want you guys to do is listen out for how silent it actually is, and furthermore, actually listen out for this spacebar, which I'm going to be talking about in just a second. So as you're able to hear, the spacebar has a weird spring sound, and that is quite literally because it's actually got 2 springs at the bottom. The springs can be removed, and I do suggest that, because or else you're going to hear that springing feeling or springing sound, which I don't like. The feeling of the difference between having spring or not means that without the spring it's a little bit more mushy, but with it it's a little bit more responsive. Personally, I preferred using it without the spring, simply because the spring noise were doing my head in, especially when it comes to jumping and you're just tapping like that. It's going dong 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 dong, which sounds really weird. Anyway, in terms of its overall sound, however, I quite like it. It's a quite silent keyboard, and of course it depends on how hard you bash on the keyboard, but generally speaking it was a quite silent keyboard. That said, it is a membrane keyboard and not a mechanical one, so it is to be expected to be a little bit more silent than you'd find in a mechanical keyboard. So now let's go on to the repeat rate I was talking about, and then the software. So I'm going to take you up to the PC, and you'll be able to see a Word document there on the right. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to type in, just hold down the button W. You'll be able to see how fast it goes there. Now I'm going to hit the FN and F2 button, which goes to the next repeat rate. And I'm going to do the same thing. As you're able to see there, it suddenly speeds up. Then I'm going to do FN and F3, which is even faster. And now you will see how fast that goes. And then I'll go FN and F4, the final top speed, and you can see it goes absolutely mental. So the reason you do this is because of RTS gamers, for example, or MMORPG gamers that want a repeat of a certain key over time. For me, I don't need that, so I use the normal repeat rate, which is the standard one, which looks like that. Obviously, if you're going to want to change that, it's great because you can do it via hardware rather than going via software. So now let's talk about the software a little bit. Software is quite important when it comes to any sort of PC equipment, and it does dictate your experience with it. So first of all, in this section, the normal main control, you can customize each key to do even mouse buttons, which is quite cool. What's nice about this is that it gives you full control over all the keys on the keyboard, which is great. Then you can choose the 2 different gaming modes, and then you can actually go into Macro Manager and set up your own macro if you so wish. In terms of choose color, you can also choose the color. As you remember the color sections I was talking about, here are the color section cycles that can go through, and you've got the different regions. Then you've also got the logo region to do as well, which is brilliant. Then you can turn its light intensity of off, 20%, 70 and 100, and you can even have it breathing if you so wish. So overall, I really like the color, the fact that you can actually customize in terms of colors, and it's really nice. You've got the different profiles that you can set for different games, which is always useful. Macro settings, you can change all these macros. So I remember, as I was saying, the L1 to L9 button, as you can see at the top, is labeled correctly, but when you actually look at it physically, it goes L5 to L1 and L6 to L9, so it doesn't really make sense. But anyway, these can be all customized, and you can see these ones I've customized into win buttons and mute button. Finally, you've got the advanced settings for polling rate, Windows key, and the key response time. And then you've also got the final tab, which uses for driver download, which sends you straight to their website. So overall, the software works great. It does really work. One thing I did notice is that when I do hit apply on the software, it does take a good 30 seconds for it to register on the keyboard, and your keyboard might go non-responsive. So overall, I really like this keyboard. It's a nice keyboard to type on and game on, but unfortunately it's a bit too expensive. £61 for a non-mechanical keyboard is asking for too much. For $60, near the £40 mark, I would say go out and get it because it's worth it. Overall, guys, it's a hit and miss for me. It depends on the price range, but £60 is too much for me to recommend it. I would rather spend an extra £10 or £70 to get a full working mechanical keyboard. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, favorite and share, as it always helps. Take care guys, Totally Dubbed out. Bye bye.